Hello everybody. Welcome back to Multipurpose with Lakshit. I'm back with Choice Bison. So he is a visual artist and creates wonderful vegan art things, and I love his content. Just recommending, just surely check him out on the Instagram. And coming back to the question thing, if you can speak about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like you just said, my name is Choice Bison. I represent the Bison movement. We're an art collective based out of Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
But our whole purpose in creating art and creating music is to spread the vegan message. And I've had a lot of blessings come my way of connecting to other people around the world through this message. And super happy to be here and super honored to have the opportunity to talk about the cause and what the movement represents, baby.
Yeah. Okay, so if you can, what was the reason to start? Why did you think to start the choice, the vision movement? What was the reason to start
Our origins start all the way back in 2011. I've been making art my entire life. I've been drawing since before I could write, really. And my younger brother has been a recording artist his entire life as well.
that?
And when I came back from college, I found that, going into his scene with music, there was a kind of like a divide between cliques of people. So at first, the Bison movement started to just be a collective of artists to bring everybody together.
Yeah,
But then I started this is 2011, so this is pre-apocalypse, pre 2012, everybody freaking out about what was going to happen with the world. And I started going into my own spiritual journey with my brother and feeling really depressed, feeling really lost. And one of the things, luckily enough, I almost felt like I got self-initiated. We started finding a lot of information about, at the time it was vegetarianism. It was talking about how, consuming animals and the energy exchange. There's a lot about, even I'm sure with Indian culture, there's a lot about energy being something that is like transferred from
yeah,
being to being. So we went vegetarian. We tried telling all of our friends, go vegetarian. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. We started seeing all of these like positive health benefits and spiritual benefits. At first, it was just about the health and the spirit. And it's like a rabbit hole. Once you start going deeper, we found all these different reasons about how it was affecting the planet. And then somebody put me on the documentary Cowspiracy. And then I was like, okay, no cheese, no milk, none of that anymore.
yeah,
Completely vegan. And now I've been vegan since 2012, I guess 7 years. And it feels amazing, man. It's definitely something that I don't plan on returning back to my old ways. And that's why the Bison movement, we found it was a lot more effective to talk to people through your art and connect to them on a more empathetic level than it
yeah,
is to just try to, almost spam them with information. So
yeah, wonderful. I just You make it you make the art so real. For example, you just a baby, a female body within a cow's head, showing the breast of baby.
yeah,
That was so realistic, and I think that was the post I saw yours, and that was the reason I just opened your profile, just checked that picture, and that was the same minute I followed you on Instagram, and I'm very happy that we're doing
awesome.
this today and having you an interview. And what was the reason? Was it just the movie Cowspiracy, which inspired you to go big? Was that thing?
I feel like it was a great catalyst,
Okay.
but all of the pieces were floating there before. It
Hmm.
was like I had a lot of my own journey lead me there, like I said before, with like looking into spirituality and
Yeah.
trying to kind of understand why I was feeling so down. And it was a huge thing at the time. Everybody was telling me like, oh, if you don't eat animals, you're going to die, you're going to get sick. There really wasn't that much information out there like there is now. And once we started getting more into veganism and the practice of it, we started connecting to a lot more people who were vegan. It was like the law of attraction kind of thing. So it was with Cowspiracy that gave me a lot of the information that I kind of just was like, okay, let me, because at first I doubted a lot of it. You know what I mean? I was like, no way, like what you mean to tell me 2,400 gallons of water for one hamburger? I was like, there's no way. But as I looked more into it, I was like, wow, this information has been out here for a long time. But, you know, now that we have the internet, we have Instagram, we have all these different platforms to spread the information, I was like, got to do it. Got to utilize the moment while you have. So, but yeah, I definitely think that watching documentaries like that, even recently, I saw the one that was What the Health, or not What the Health, excuse me, that's a great one too. But
Yeah.
the Game Changers one, the one about like, you know, athleticism with veganism. And, you know, you just have those moments where you're like, for sure, everything is pointing in this direction. I'd be, you know, like it's something that I feel like that's why I try to make the art so kind of like in your face, but also relatable. I think empathy is a really cool tool when you use it right.
Okay, let's get back to the thing. So yeah, coming back to the questions thing. How like you said you're vegan by 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you feel being vegan? I think it's already 6 years, not 6 years, 8 years you're vegan. So how do you feel?
That's crazy.
How do you feel being vegan?
To me, I kind of feel like it is illuminating. It's illuminating. It's one of those lifestyle choices that if you were to talk to me when I was 17, I would have kind of told you were crazy. I'd have been like, no, there's no way. And you know, like the very cliches, like I love my steak, I love my
Yeah,
chicken
yeah,
too much.
yeah. I know.
But you know what I mean? Like I've realized that it's an addiction. So I kind of feel like somebody who broke away from an addiction that
Yeah,
was so deep seated into them that I feel like a new person. And you know, they say that your cells regenerate every 7 years.
yeah,
So it's kind of empowering to realize, like, I'm like, oh man, my cells are totally plant based by this point. And the time goes by fast. You know, once you start, like, once I hit that 1 year mark, I was like, okay, I'm at a year. You can't go back now. Then
yeah.
you hit 2 years, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was 2 years. And then by this point, it just feels, you know, it's a part of who I am. So.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I do agree that non-vegetarians love their steak. I am not non-vegetarian. I was vegetarian by birth. You know, I have been an exchange student to France, and I know how they love their meat. And I can agree with you how you guys you would be. You know, you would have not agreed being vegan because that's one of the things you would never think about. Yeah, just like
Mhm.
I agree with very much with that point. So, what would be you know advices to people? You know, like if anybody wants to go vegan, what would you recommend them, and what would be your advices for that?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of times when I talk to my friends or people who are interested, they have their preconceived notions of veganism
Yeah,
already. So a lot of times people think that it's going to be too expensive.
yeah,
They think that their health is going to deteriorate. They think, you know, they're like, what am I going to eat? So I would just say that before you make the commitment or you try to make the commitment, definitely do your research, like watch the documentaries,
yeah,
go online, look at the information. And for me, the easiest transition to make is going to substitute meats. So like replacing things that you usually would use like chicken or fish with the substitute meats. You know, here in the States, substitute meats, alternative meats are like making a
yeah,
huge boom. And they have brands like Gardein, Beyond Meat, I'm sure you're familiar with. Like, there's a lot of brands that make it so it's like you can continue cooking the way you're cooking. You just are using a different meat base instead of, you know, what you usually would do. So I would definitely consider like transitioning everything that you're doing. Just find the vegan alternative. There's enough to find. There's so much information now, and like, you know, people always say that it's inexpensive, but most cultures that have majority of vegetarian or vegan cultures are low income cultures. They're cultures that, you know, meat was always something that was kind of on the higher class tier.
yeah, yeah,
And you know, it costs nothing to get a bag of beans and to soak beans. Like, it's just about time, you know. But yeah, that's definitely something that I want to, moving forward with the Bison movement, we want to start providing more structured meal plans for people to follow, because I know a big part of it is just literally not knowing what to eat.
Okay, wonderful. So, how did you get this idea of how did you get this idea of getting spreading the message of veganism through your art? Your
Hoping
talent.
I'm still connected to you, bro. I think rain passion, yeah,
Can you hear me?
difficult. Just
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Yeah. So coming back to the question, what was the reason you just got into doing a vegan art? What was the reason behind to start making these beautiful art forms and beautiful pictures and painting these beautiful things? What is the reason to do that?
Thank you. I'm so happy you think it's beautiful, man. There's a
Yeah.
lot of I put a lot of love into every piece, so it's cool that some people look at my art and like shock value wise, they're like, oh God. So it's always
Yeah.
really reassuring to have somebody be like, they can see the actual beauty in it. But I started doing, I call them by Sundays because I release a new vegan piece every Sunday. Being Bison by Sunday just went hand in hand. So at first I thought, it'd be cool to create a series of work that talks about veganism, almost like a Sunday cartoon, and to use platforms like Instagram or Facebook to just talk about it because I
Yeah.
felt that at the time, this is probably I started doing the art pieces weekly about 2 years ago. And here, sorry, I'm getting like one of those. Your internet connection is unstable, but I guess that's what happens when you go like we're 9 hour difference.
Yeah.
I forgive the Wi-Fi. But yeah, getting back to the question, it was something that I felt like was a calling for me. Like I said, I've been drawing my entire life. So usually I'll make art that has to do with my own personal life. And then when I realized that I could, I tried it with a couple of pieces, and then I really started to see a reception. It was really slow at first. It didn't gain much traction. A lot of people in my social circle were like, "What the heck are you doing?" And I just knew that I had to keep on going with it. It really felt like a higher calling. That was like use your skills with art to portray a message to people, and put sugar in the medicine. Make it a little funny. Make it a little informational. Like make it something that people can laugh
Yeah.
at, but also be able to retract themselves and be like, okay, though, there's actually content here. So,
Mhm.
and now we're 2 years strong, man. I got like maybe like 200 by Sundays under my belt, 200 pieces, and I have yet to run out of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how hard would you describe this journey as? What were the hurdles? What were your problems? If you can speak about those, the bad side of the thing you're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's like an old saying that goes like, whenever you're doing something right, you're gonna get haters. Like if you don't
Yeah.
have haters, you're not doing anything right.
Yeah.
And for me, I come from kind of like a trained background with art. Like I went to an art high school. I went to college for a little bit for architecture. So I
Yeah.
think at first everybody's idea was that I was going to get out of high school and become an architect. I was just like following the path. And then all of a sudden, I start making this type of art. And I think at first, I actually had people think that people thought I lost my mind. They were like, oh man, he got caught up in the vegan propaganda thing. So even to this day, I don't really care about any of the trolls or anything like that. Like I still get messages of people saying that I'm crazy or people
Yeah.
saying that like, having their own weird, like, hey, look at this picture of my food and it's like a bloody steak or,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's like the resistance that you always feel right before you get to a change. So
Yeah.
those are like the people that I try not to block them. I try to respond right back to them. It's like those are the people that almost may be closer to the edge than you think.
Mhm.
And it has been difficult. It has been difficult, at least in the artistic community. Something that I've found is that a lot of people think that the only people that can resonate with this art are vegans. So, there's been times where I've been denied from art galleries or I've had people not want to share my artwork or,
Okay.
have like, be like, ooh, I can't, I'm not vegan. Sorry, I'm not vegan enough. And it's like, no, man, like this work is for all of us. You know what I mean? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to make a vegan only
Yeah.
club.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's honestly, it's been nothing but positivity though, for the most part.
What normally you do to get up by these hurdles, by these problems? What are the things? How do you just ignore them and just grow up and what you want to do? How do you do that?
How do I ignore the trolls?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Sorry, the question was breaking up a little bit. Oh man, like I said before, I see all of that, and I see the intent in people, and I know that a lot of times people share that because they have their own bitterness. Like whenever somebody hits you with that type of energy, it's mostly because they're the same people that have that given to them somewhere else along the line. So I
Yeah.
try to sympathize with where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like a bully bullies because they got bullied at home.
Mhm.
And again, this is all like a new wave of information. I know that people are going to be hesitant to it. It'd be one thing if I was posting pictures of my face and then I had people being like, "You're ugly, dude." Then I probably would take it to heart and be like, "Oh my god, I'm ugly." But to have it where it's art that's conveying it's still taboo. We're still talking about the way that the humanity has been structured for thousands of years. So I don't expect everybody to just hop on board and love it. But my thing is that even when you get those negative comments, to just embrace it all with love and know that even this person who reached out with hate, they still reached out. There was still
Yeah.
some connection there. Like you made an effect on them. You know what I mean? Like you had some type of effect. And maybe it'll take them 2 years to realize it positively.
Recognize. Yeah.
Maybe it'll take them, maybe they'll see something else. Maybe they're being like haunted by the vegan message right now.
Yeah.
And wherever they go, they're seeing something vegan, and they just had to use me as a catalyst to be like, "This is ridiculous." And then the next day, they're like, "Wait a second."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So I try to stay optimistic.
okay. And for you, how does spirituality, how like do you think spirituality and religion are connected? As for you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. I was uh I was raised very like non-denominational Christian. So I was brought as a child. I didn't have to go to church every Sunday. I didn't have to, but I went to churches that didn't make you dress nice. I went to churches that accepted anyone's you know gender or sexual orientation or race. And I think because of that, I learned that the figure Christ was more about a mentality and more about an acceptance of people who don't have the structures of religion to take them to God. And I always resonated with the idea that God was a personal connection, that it wasn't something that you needed ritual or ceremony to get to, but you could. You
Yeah.
could. When I look at the history of a lot of religions, like as I was studying spirituality, I looked at the history, and you always kind of have to like scratch your head a little bit and be like, wow, you're all representing the same message, but there's always a person. I think that religion puts a person in power, and people by nature, when they get power, they're going to become corrupt. So for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like religion is a way for people who share the same spiritual paths or similar paths to meet, but I don't think it's a place that people should stay, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. And how does spirituality or Christianity, whatever you believe in, helps you? How does it helps you mentally to think? How does it helps you? How does it helps you do something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it's pretty hand in hand with my own uh, vegan practices. I think that once you start recognizing that everything has this life force within it, you start seeing dogs and cows, and there's really no barrier between it. It's no longer I eat this one, I pet this one. It's we're all coexisting in this beautiful game. You know what I mean? This very beautiful reality. And for me, uh, something with spirituality, like even when I was practicing Christianity, it was always something that like tethered on my heart, where I was like, if we want to, it says thou shalt not kill. We're talking about being merciful to things. So why are we sacrificing animals? And
Yeah.
we're not even doing it in the way that was practiced back in those days. We don't, what I mean? These are factory farmed animals. These are animals that are lined up stall by stall, and there is no ritual, there is no prayer, there is nothing. It's just business and money. So for me, looking even at the state of the world right now and how this pandemic started because of cross contamination from animals, I think that there's a beautiful universal, and it's spiritual. You know what I mean? There's a spiritual lesson going on that, some people call it karma. Other people have their own ideals for it, but I think that the universe speaks to us through situations, and God speaks to us through those situations as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, bringing out the vegan message is, not even to say that I'm like a prophet or anything like that, but I think it's important that veganism and vegan activists spread their message, because we were given that message from some higher vibration. So it's like, respectfully, spread the message, do it with love, and the spirit will be there.
Okay, wonderful. It almost brings it to an end. I have last 5 quick questions for you. So what would be the best advice you ever received from someone?
My bad, brother. Say again.
Yeah, what was the best advice you ever received from someone?
The best advice I ever received from somebody, it was a fortune cookie, and it said, "Keep your goals away from the trolls."
Okay, okay, fine. And what was the worst advice? Worst?
Worse. Are you sure about that?
Okay, yeah, okay. How would you describe life in 3 words?
Life in 3 words.
Yeah,
Unity,
okay,
love,
yeah.
and confusion.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, last question I can ask you. What advice would you give to people to go vegan? Like, not okay. We have already done this. What would be an advice to anybody who wants to become an artist?
Don't stop. Don't stop, and dedicate yourself to your vision and your practice. Regardless, don't do it for anybody else's approval. Don't do it for clout. Don't do it for even an image. Do it because when you're laying in your bed, you see things.
Yeah,
and speak your language. Get inspired from other people, but speak your own truth.
Yeah, totally agreed with you. So last question, like, you have an open space, you can speak about anything or a message you want to leave over here.
Oh yeah, I guess my message to the people for sure is, like, in these times of uncertainty, to have faith, but to always look forward. I think that we're kind of in a purgatory right now, so we have to look forward, and we have to visualize the future, not just for ourselves, but for the people to come. And I think that the most promising thing that we can do to ensure that we have a safe future is veganism, is the practice of ahimsa to all things.
Yeah.
So it's something to me that I would say, like, stay true to yourself, live in light, life, and love, go vegan, and make a lot of art, because we're only here for a temporary amount of time. But like they say, what you do today echoes in eternity. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much for being. Told me that you don't like to be in front of cameras and speak about yourself. But anyway, I was able to connect with you, and you came here and spoke about your journey of being an artist and vegan activist and vegan. Thank you very much for being here. I'm just grateful that you came and we did this amazing interview and amazing podcast episode, and we spoke about your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. Spreading nothing but light, life, and love your way. And to everybody else watching, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a great opportunity to not just talk about the message, but to connect with you, man. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.